Okay, so we've got to evaluate the secant of 3 pi over 4. Okay, the secant of 3 pi over 4. The first thought that we should have is that secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Okay, secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So it's 1 over the cosine of 3 pi over 4. Okay, 3 pi over 4, it's an over 4, so the value of sine and cosine are both square root 2 over 2. The question is it positive or negative? It is negative, okay, because 3 pi over 4 is in the second quadrant. X values are negative in the second quadrant. This is a fraction within a fraction, so we've got to flip and multiply. Okay, so it's negative 2 over the square root of 2 times 1, technically, but multiplying by 1 doesn't do anything. If we multiply top and bottom by the square root of 2, we get negative 2 square roots of 2 over 2. The 2's cancel, so this is simply equal to the negative square root of 2. Alex Burns, I do not believe that my desk is a footrest. Thank you. All right, cosecant of negative pi over 3. Cosecant of negative pi over 3. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. And while we're at it, what would be the positive coterminal angle for negative pi over 3? Five pi over 3. Okay, 5 pi over 3. The easy way to figure that out is that trick that I just told you. Find positive pi over 3, go directly below it. You're at 5 pi over 3. Okay? What is the y coordinate at 5 pi over 3? Negative square root 3 over 2. Okay? So we flip that over, so that's negative 2 over the square root of 3. Rationalize. Negative 2 square roots of 3 over 3. All right, tangent of pi over 2. Tangent of pi over 2. So that is the sine of pi over 2 over the cosine of pi over 2. Pi over 2 is the point at the very top, so that point would be the point 0, 1. So cosine is 0, sine is 1. What happens when we divide by 0? Bad things happen. That is undefined. Okay? You cannot divide by 0. It is undefined. Okay, so tangent can be undefined. All right, the tangent of 3 pi. Well, our unit circle doesn't go all the way to 3 pi, so that means we need a coterminal angle. So subtract 2 pi. Sorry, I'm messing up my colors that I was trying to go with here. Subtract 2 pi, so that's the same as the tangent of pi. Okay, so that's the sine of pi over the cosine of pi. Pi is the point over there on the left. So the the x value is negative 1. The y value is 0. So it's 0 over negative 1, which equals 0. Okay, 0 can be divided by any number. Okay, 0 divided by any number is 0. It's okay. I like to look at it that way. 0 divided by a constant is okay. A number divided by 0 is no way. Okay? That's the way I like to remember it. All right. A few more here with the reciprocal functions. Cosecant. Okay, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Sine of 7 pi over 6 would be negative 1/2. 1 over negative 1/2 is negative 2. Okay, secant of negative 5 pi over 4. Secant is 1 over cosine. I don't like negative angles. I want that to be a positive angle. So the coterminal angle with negative 5 pi over 4 would be 3 pi over 4. Okay. You can go through the process of finding the coterminal by adding 2 pi or 8 pi over 4. Or you can look at your unit circle, find positive 5 pi over 4, go directly above it. Okay. So that is in the second quadrant. So cosine is negative, and it's an over 4 angle, so it's square root 2 over 2. And didn't we just do this one a second ago? 1 over the square root of 2 over 2? Yes, it ends up giving us negative square root of 2. Okay, last one here, cotangent of 4 pi over 3. Cotangent of 4 pi over 3. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, so it is cosine over sine. Okay, cotangent is cosine over sine. So 4 pi over 3. Let's see here. Over 3, cosine would be 1/2. Sine would be square root 3 over 2. And negative, negative. So that gives us 1/2 times 2 over the square root of 3. A negative over a negative is positive, so I just drop those. 1 over the square root of 3 is the square root of 3 over 3 after you rationalize. Okay, 2 more just kind of talking points that I want to do here. Okay, if they ask you about the cosecant of 59 pi over 10, okay, if that's a question, I think you may run into one like that on the 10 marks. The cosecant of 59 pi over 10. Is 59 pi over 10 going to be on our unit circle? No, because none of our denominators are 10. The only things that are on our unit circle have a denominator of 6, 4, 3, or 2. That's the only thing. Okay, so if they give you something like this, you're going to have to use your calculator. Okay, that's all that they're expecting you to do here is to know that this is 1 over the sine, because there's not a cosecant button on your calculator. It's 1 over the sine. This angle is in radians. So you got to make sure you're in radian mode. Okay, so you may have to switch between 1 over the sine of 59 pi over 10. And they're really just looking for that decimal approximation there, negative 3.236. Okay, and just pay attention to how they ask you to round. They may ask you to round to the nearest tenth. Okay. All right, here's one more type of question that you may be asked. Okay, the terminal side of a ray goes through the point negative 3, positive 4. So let's think about where that, what that's describing there. Through negative 3, 1, 2, 3, negative 3, positive 4. Okay, there's the ray that's being described. It wants to know the value of sine of theta, and you're probably thinking, well, there's no theta on there. It's talking about a ray. Well, it's talking about the fact that this angle is formed between the ray and the x-axis, and it sets up a right triangle where the height, the y value, the height is 4, the base is 3. We don't worry about the negative part. Okay, so if 2 legs of a right triangle are 3 and 4, what's the hypotenuse? 5. 3, 4, 5 triangle. 3, 4, 5 triangle. You could also use Pythagorean theorem, but that's one you're just supposed to know. So let's see here. 4 would be the opposite. 5 is the hypotenuse. 3 is the adjacent. So the sine would be the opposite over hypotenuse. 4 over 5 is the answer they're looking for there. Yes, sir.
On that last one, the one before that.
The cosecant? Mm-hmm.
Yes, where did you get 218? Are you putting calculating? You did the cosine of tangent of 218?
No, I didn't do anything with 218. I just typed in 59 pi over 10.
I was looking at the top.
Oh, the 210. Sorry, that was the previous problem.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't clear out my calculator.
Oh,
Okay, there you go. Sorry for the confusion. All right. Does this one make sense with the right triangle? All right.